Thanks for joining us for episode 2 of Collecting Disney. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the Adventureland shooting gallery targets. Before we dive into the shooting gallery targets, we're actually going to talk first a little bit about the history of shooting galleries at Disneyland. The one that's there today is obviously in Frontierland, and it opened in 1957. But it wasn't the first one at Disneyland. The first shooting gallery was actually on Main Street, USA, if you can believe it. It opened in July, just a week after the park opened, July 24th, 1955. And it's located about where the Gibson Grill Kitchen is today. Now it closed in January of 1962, and one of the reasons why it closed was because they were getting ready for the Adventureland shooting gallery, which opened later that year, June 15th of 1962. It's gone by a few different names. It's gone by the Big Game Safari, Big Game Shooting Gallery, among others. And a fun story is told about it of how they used to use pellets as ammunition. Now those pellets caused a lot of chaos. They caused ricochets, and it also forced the cast members to have to repaint the targets nightly to keep the Disney image. Now if you can imagine, repainting those targets nightly would cause a lot of buildup on the targets, make them a little bit thicker than they had started. So when they did the refurbishments, the major refurbishments, they'd actually take the targets and strip them down of the paint and then repaint them with one coat, which is a pretty labor-intensive activity, as you can imagine. Talking a little bit about the shooting gallery targets, not a whole lot is known about the inside of the attraction. One of the things we can know about the attraction is found in the early guidebook picture, 1962. And as you look at this picture right here, this is the only picture that I'm aware of the inside of the attraction. You have to take a magnifying glass to it to really see some of the targets and some of the colors of it. But I'm hoping that as the years go on, more and more pictures will come out of what the inside of that attraction looked like. But the way that these targets were mounted, there's a couple different ways. As you can see right here, the bracket here, this was mounted to a conveyor chain. Now this would have been a moving target, which were some of the more enjoyable ones. But this one would have been uprighted, so it would have been going on the conveyor chain. It would have been knocked over and then uprighted either behind the scenes or under the stage, if that makes any sense. The other kind of target they had was like this bird right here. It was actually mounted in place, and you can see right here, this was a stable one where if you shot it over, it would just be uprighted right away in place. There's a couple of the targets that I have that don't have any sort of apparent mounting method, like this woodpecker or this snake right here. Now there's a couple of possible explanations for that. It's possible they were just affixed to the wall, but that's, to me, a little bit more unlikely. And the reason why is, for instance, on this snake right here, I actually have the sample. You can see there's no apparent mounting method right there, but I actually have the sample that Disneyland used. Now the sample right here, this would have been given to the fabricators of the attraction, and you can see this actually has the mounting methods there. So it's most likely that this snake right here, again, was just what we call new old stock. In other words, it was fabricated for the attraction, but the attraction closed down before it was actually used. One interesting note about that, I'll say too, is that the attraction, the shooting gallery targets were actually fabricated by McGlashan Enterprises up until 1969. Now in 1969, Disney bought them out, and they started doing the fabricating of the targets in-house. And that can actually, more information on that can be found in the cast member magazine called the Disneyland Line. It was January 27th, 1977 was the issue that's talked a little bit about. But let's take a little more specific look at some of the targets, some of the animals that were used in the Adventureland gallery. We have the parrot, we have the toucan, we have a woodpecker, we have a weasel, we have skulls, we have a couple different birds right there. We have a crab, a lion, a snake. Now this is interesting. We have a lion and a crab in a green, and that shows you that there were a couple of different times where the paint color changed in the attraction. Down here below we have some that have no paint. We have a skull again, a weasel again, a crab. We have a baboon, we have a rhino, we have a panther, and then we have a skull without eyes. Now this skull without eyes is interesting as well, because my theory on that is that in general Disneyland had the mold, or that they fabricated the general look of the skull, and then later on they came with a smaller tool or machine to cut out the eyes and the nose. Again, because not a whole lot is known on the inside of that attraction or about how the targets were fabricated, that's my assumption. But that's about all I know on the shooting gallery targets. I hope that if you have any sort of experience, if you were a cast member and worked the attraction, that you'll post something in the comments below, because I love to learn more about it. Also, if you just have any information in general, please post below. But thank you for joining me for episode 2, and I look forward to seeing you for episode 3.